come out in October, which slaps. I also have a second novel coming out literally tomorrow. It's called Things We Don't See. Dark, coming of age, insane, summer vacation, mystery vibes. Which, oh yeah, slaps. Because, I don't know, does it? Who's to say?
Dear savbrown, I DM'd you and it says read, but you still haven't replied yet. I left links to my Snapchat, my Instagram, and my YouTube channels at the bottom. I sent you 2 DMs back in autumn. You must not have got them. But anyways, F it. How's your cat and your bug? I saw you tweeted about having a boyfriend. That's cool. I have a girlfriend too. Guess what I call her? Her name is...
the savbrown gumhead.
Bonnie. I know you probably hear this every day, but I'm your biggest fan. I even got a tattoo with your name across the chest. I've got, not exactly a room full of your posters and your pictures, but never mind. I like your first poetry collection too, Graffiti. That stuff was fat. Anyways, I hope you get this. Hit me back just to chat. Truly yours, your biggest fan. This is Anthony. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, Anthony Makes Videos. I'm Anthony, and in today's video, I'm going to be basically reviewing The Things We Don't See by Savannah Brown. But basically, I'm just going to overview her entire body of work at this point, which she's gonna supposedly drop some more stuff in a few days. Probably by the time you're seeing this, it's out, but I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet as of now. But it has indeed been a while, and I've been chewing on this one for a while. I was reading The Things We Don't See outside of a laundromat one morning when this rough-looking guy smoking a cig with a backpack on walked in front of me. As he passed in front of me, he said, "Love to see him reading." And then I turned back to him and said, "Where's your book, man?" So he stopped, turned, took a drag from his cig, patted his backpack. We stoically nodded at each other, and then he walked away. In short, The Things We Don't See does not indeed slap. And I think Sav Brown's authorial voice was stifled in YA fiction. This all started in the summer of 2021 when Sav Brown's I Could Write My Magnum Opus or I Could Simply Go to Bed YouTube video came upon my recommend page, and looking back, that was what got me. What could have been just a single book review led me to not only read The Things We Don't See, but both of her poetry collections as well as her first young adult YA novel, The Truth About Keeping Secrets. The Magnum Opus video checks a lot of boxes of major thematic elements of what I would call contemporary postmodernism, which is a big pretentious phrase out of the gate, but let me explain. I don't want to just fall back on using a term like postmodernism without just explaining myself a bit first. So in short, I think postmodernism could be interpreted as an inversion of sorts of the structure and content of modernism. You could say that vulgar, naive, or shallow postmodernism, if you will, in writing and particularly fiction, might be simply rearranging text in order to achieve a fractured narrative, begging the question what purpose or intention these traditional structural forms, such as linear plot structure, were abandoned for in the first place. Perhaps others would agree that lots of work that could be considered postmodern is self-conscious of itself as embodying or being exemplary of its genre, media, form, or tradition, of the writer and authorial voice as persona in writing, of the effects that various artistic elements tend to have on their audience, and that the audience is aware of this. Authors of postmodern writing, or within the postmodern period, are also increasingly exposed to criticism of their own work as well as others. This amplifies the use of techniques such as irony, cynicism, irreverence, and an overall nihilistic tone that tends to employ lots of heavy-duty existentialist machinery, tacitly tackling the big questions about purpose, meaning, the nature of human experience, and all kinds of other verbal pyrotechnics. However, this is increasingly chaotic, destabilized, detached, uncertain, and to the greatest peril of the author, this leads into being increasingly misunderstood. Instead of returning to the traditional structural forms, however, the continuation of the progress reached by postmodernism is perhaps found in vulnerability and being deliberate, and this subsequently achieves the authenticity and sincerity that was not as clear in what might be referred to as earlier postmodernism. This is laid bare in the author's interview in the back of The Things We Don't See. In response to if anything inspired the story of The Things We Don't See, I knew I wanted to write about vulnerability, which eventually morphed into an amalgamation of truth and identity and the idea of moving on and remaking ourselves once we get to where we're going. In response to what she would like readers to take away from this story. Okay, blah, 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 sarcastic bullshit, and then we get to the real answer. If it facilitates within anyone an interrogation of their relationship to their own identity or loss or trauma, or how they view girls with classically unlovable traits, then that is also cool. She also goes on to say, I find it helpful to occasionally read books as though I'm performing autopsies on them. In the Magnus Opum video, savbrown's vulnerability emerges in sentiments of solitude, despair at getting older, angst, insecurity in her work as an artist, lack of control, the worry of being misunderstood, and uncertainty of the future. She also opens up, if briefly, about having uneasiness about notions such as the commodification of art, commercial appeal, trends, deadlines, creativity on demand, consistency, branding, and growth, but also the privilege of the so-called creative class. My interpretation of savbrown's cynical realism is that the ability to risk being vulnerable in the pursuit of authentic, sincere expression is the redemption of the weight of existence she feels so strongly in some way, but that is shared by her audience somehow, however incongruent or mismatched it may really be in the end. Furthermore, savbrown to me clearly has the total package for commercial success and money-making potential from an art marketing standpoint, namely charisma, talent, she's a good performer, and she has the look. I've never personally met savbrown, so her flirty, mysterious, tragic, manic pixie dream girl persona could be an act for all I know. And I wouldn't say I'm at all in her core target audience, but this persona is probably highly relatable to all the middle school horse girls who are her actual target audience, as savbrown represents to them a cooler, more confident, more successful, slightly older version of themselves. It's no secret that YA is a marketing genre that commonly revolves around a young female protagonist between 14 and 20 years old and has a PG-13 limit to its content. It's somewhat stereotypical, but her target audience with the best adherence to her brand looks at her and says, that could be me.
I made a FetLife account. Terrifying dudes wait for an especially coquettish minor to turn 18. I'm like ready to start legally posting my big girl thoughts in compromising positions, you know what I mean?
And though I have no qualms with lust, your body is a howling
Haunted 18th century lighthouse.
that I really shouldn't touch.
Don't forget me, 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 don't forget me.
You know?
Okay, help me out. We kiss without hesitation, no reservation. We dangle our feet from the... In the crowd of the sad, in the crowd of the mad, we are the only...
We're lying on the moon. It's a perfect afternoon. Your shadow follows me all day, making sure I'm okay. And we're a million miles away.
But I've got at least a hint of the tism.
Is saying you have a hint of the tism just another way of saying you're avant-garde nowadays? You might be saying to yourself right now, if this is a book review, you need to separate the art from the artist. Maybe, but if Sav Brown were a friend and someone who I knew personally, and she could have been writing a novel in secrecy or told me the details of progress every day through to its publication, of course I would read it and I would be supportive and enthusiastic of that achievement, etc. Anyways, The Things We Don't See is Sav Brown's fourth publication, following her first poetry collection, Graffiti, her first YA novel, The Truth About Keeping Secrets, and her second poetry collection, Sweet Dark. In the back of Sweet Dark, The Things We Don't See was still forthcoming and is referred to by what I assume was its working title, How to Disappear. The story's main character is Mona Perry, a late high school or early undergraduate aged girl who has not yet fully processed a traumatic event that occurred before the immediate context of the plot of the novel involving her older sister, Celeste. The traumatic event involves her older sister, Celeste, that is. The traumatic reality of the event involving her sister is not yet integrated into her psyche, and so its memory is initially repressed, but during episodes of surreal dissociation, this is recalled over the course of the novel. Mona Perry also has a podcast, which making a kind of true crime episode for inspires her to investigate the disappearance of a famous singer named Roxy Rains. Think Janis Joplin or Stevie Nicks. From the small, eerie town of Sandow Bay, Delaware. Mona Perry seems driven by a relatability to Roxy Rains as a cooler, more confident, more successful, slightly older representation of herself, in that she envies Roxy Rains' sudden, mysterious disappearance from the big other of society, you could say, as a resolution to the integration of the repressed traumatic event involving her sister Celeste. Roxy Rains' disappearance also crucially occurred before the immediate context of the main plot of the novel, but in 1986, that is to say, considerably before relative to the traumatic event involving Celeste with respect to Mona Perry. Roxy Rains is in this way a proxy for Mona Perry's symbolic identity. By searching for Roxy Rains and aiming then to publicize to the big other of society, you could say, again, via her podcast, a narrative that resolves the conflict of Roxy Rains' disappearance, the negation of her identity posed by the repressed memory of the traumatic real involving Celeste, would itself be inverted, and Mona Perry's identity would thereby be reintegrated, and her experience would open up itself to a new horizon of meaning. Basically, Mona Perry runs away from her dad at the start of the summer, but had lined up a job waiting tables at a small restaurant in Sandown Bay as a part of a kind of summer program for the youth that also gets her a place to live throughout the summer. This is how she meets Ellis, whose mom is running the hotel or inn where Mona is staying through the summer program, and Ellis is basically a stuttering, awkward, shy, amorphous prepubescent boy whom Mona Perry befriends. Her clique further expands to include a girl named Peyton, whom I must say between her and Mona Perry, there is no advertent romantic relationship. Oh, hey, I'm home. What have you been up to all day? Oh, you wrote a poem today? Well, that sounds lovely. Of course I'd love to hear it. I'll just go put my stuff down. Alexa, play Wobbly by Ezra Furman. Keep going, I'm still listening.
Hi, I'm a slut. What? You can't be surprised when you spent my entire life deciding woman equals sexualize. In 9th grade, a man told me I have good blowjob eyes. Hi, I'm a slut, but what does that...
There's also Officer Booker, the sheriff in town as far as the story is concerned, whose portrayal is somewhat ambiguous between cooperating with Mona Perry to discover what happened to Roxy Rains, helping the kids get away with it, or whether he's a hardened, serious, all business and rules adult. There's a lot of details missing, but that's just broad brush strokes. The novel is structured in 3 parts. These parts are like the acts of a play, representing the major arcs of the development of the plot. These parts are broken up into chapters, except for part 1 in The Things We Don't See, which alternates chapters containing the main narrative that persists in the second and third parts of the book, with essentially transcript of a podcast giving objective level background details of the disappearance of Roxy Rains. Chapter 1 is really not the true start because it follows one such transcript chapter, but Mona says starting on the bottom of page 5. This is what I'm saying about the ocean. It's blue because of what it reflects rather than what it absorbs, as in water molecules absorb the red and orange and yellow waves of light and reflect the blue, as in the ocean is blue because blue is the only color it's not. This is true of everything. Not to mention the steps that occur in the brain to even perceive color in the first place. It's a well-written passage, don't get me wrong, but this is in the prime real estate of the first pages of the novel and evokes more sci-fi elements for me, so it seems like a cheap forced bid to earn smartness street cred with the reader, and for me is emblematic of savbrown's overall treatment of the mystery genre being slightly incohesive. Mona Perry's character also had traits like being able to pick locks or swim a few miles during a storm that only appear to advance otherwise highly implausible or unlikely scenarios to keep the story moving and in a chintzy way of adding action or excitement, as these traits are isolated to the immediate scenario she faces. Likewise, in my opinion, Mona Perry's surreal dissociative flashbacks and their timing within the progress of the narrative seem like they would be more compelling as video rather than how it's written. The Truth About Keeping Secrets is also, in my opinion, a better book overall, but is certainly the sort of book you can only write once. Aspects of The Truth About Keeping Secrets feel like they were authored by Sav Brown over a long time, saved up, if you will, and then written relatively quickly in an author's first novel. The subtle interactions Whitaker and her dad had that she reflects upon throughout the story are most suggestive of this. Perhaps this is just Sav Brown the poet shining through, but those scenes in The Truth About Keeping Secrets are so emotionally particular, and I think enrich the plot development of The Truth About Keeping Secrets, with Whitaker's dad nonetheless being an essentially passive character. While Mona Perry's dad is still a considerably passive character, especially compared to more active characters in The Things We Don't See, such as Ellis, Peyton, and Officer Booker, Mona Perry's dad is less enriching to the plot development and is a much more flat character in contrast to Whitaker's dad in The Truth About Keeping Secrets. Here's something. Page 283 of The Truth About Keeping Secrets, the two main characters' dialogue goes, "I got the sense that we were both losing the plot a little bit." And the other main character laughs under her breath. The self-consciousness of text occurs here, but this kind of stunt is not repeated in The Things We Don't See. Sweet Dark, Folie à Deux, prime example of Sav Brown's flirty, mysterious character in max effect, coupled with deciding to employ bold structural decisions. This to me is also lost in The Things We Don't See. The Things We Don't See is still undeniably savbrown as the savbrown of No Angels. The way he smells loses its charm when you realize it's just the smell of the laundry detergent his mom uses. And of course, graffiti. Maybe if I covered myself with tattoos or just paint, shot myself with guns filled with ink and lipstick and perfume, and moved to the city dressed in graffiti. Both me and the city. Overall, I think The Things We Don't See, from me, gets a 6.5 out of 10. Also, for what it's worth as far as the reach of her publishing, I couldn't get the Things We Don't See audiobook here in the USA, but The Truth About Keeping Secrets is in stock at most Barnes & Nobles near me, and its audiobook is available from the local library district. But, of course, I bought her 4 major works from Amazon, So I think I understand why in some videos subsequent to the release of The Things We Don't See, savbrown has said she's moving away from big book publishers like Penguin Random House, who published The Things We Don't See, and continuing to build on her experience, being more in control of the publication process as she had been with her poetry collections. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Thanks for watching. That's it. Bye. Oh shit, boy. Oh shit. No! Did you turn it off? Oh, dude, if this doesn't save, man, oh my god, this is so bad.